Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Trellis and Trails Homestead. I'm Jacqueline. We are in the middle of preservation season still. It's like mid-September. As you can see, I have a whole case of peaches here, freshly picked. I picked them last week from a friend's tree in her backyard, and I weighed them. There's about 29 pounds here. So we're gonna see what kind of recipes we come up with. So I'm still kind of trying to decide what recipes I want to make with these. The first one I think I'm going to start with is a pear Star-Anise butter, and this is on page 135 of the new ball canning book, this one here. I'll link the book for you guys to see it and check it out if you want. I wasn't going to get to this project today, but some of these pears are needing to be dealt with. I need to pick out the ones that are going bad. Some of them are yellow and a little bit soft. Apparently they're ripe when you can push on like the stem part and it gives a little bit, and these do. But then there's still some pretty green ones that are a little bit firmer. This one's actually kind of soft too. Some of them are slightly firm. This one's pretty firm. So I think what I'm gonna do is pick through these, wash them of course, and go ahead and just process the ones that are ripe. And then I don't think I'm gonna process all of this today. It's probably gonna take me a couple of days just for time constraints. So I think the ones that we don't get to today, I'm probably gonna just put in like a paper bag in the crisper drawer of the fridge and just kind of slow the ripening process for them until I can get to them in the next 4 or 5 days or so. So that's my plan so far. We'll see if that changes, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and start with this pear Star-Anise butter, and then we'll go from there. So I'm gonna pick through some of these. I need 3.5 pounds for this recipe. This recipe makes about 4 half pints, and I am running out of half pint jars. I only have probably 10 left. So we're just gonna do 1 batch of this. Also because I've never tried this recipe, I usually don't like to do a double batch of something unless I know that we really love it. We've tried it before. And just since we haven't used this recipe before, I'm only gonna do the 1 batch today, and because I'm running low on the half pint canning jars. So I'm gonna pick through these, find 3.5 pounds worth of good pears to use. It says firm, ripe, d'Anjou pears. I don't actually know the variety of these, if they're Bartlett or Anjou pears. Not totally sure about that. But I don't think it matters because we're gonna cook these pears down anyways. And yeah, let's get started. Okay guys, I got our pears all peeled and coarsely chopped. We're gonna blend all of this together anyway, so I didn't try to make uniform pieces or anything. If I seem very not excited about these pears, I'm very excited to have them, and especially since I didn't have to purchase them, but I hate peeling things. I have my KitchenAid over here, and I got some peeler and slicer attachments for it. It's like comes in a kit. And I thought that would be perfect, and that would solve my problem of like hating to peel things. It cores it fine, but the problem is that the pears are small. Like this one is actually a little bit of a bigger one, but some of them are pretty small, so it doesn't fit for the peeler attachment because they're smaller than what the peeler attachment can peel. And then if you use the one with the core and spiralizer, then it makes spirals, and I don't really want that. I guess I could have done spirals because it doesn't really matter anyways if it's going to get blended, so I probably could have done that, but the pears are just a little bit smaller than like store-bought pears, So it makes it a little harder. They're absolutely stunning though. Some of them are kind of reddish. I think they might be Bartlett pears. If you guys have any ideas on what these might be, let me know. Some of them are really, really pretty. I used most of the yellow ones first just to go ahead and get those used up. And I tried to cut them fast, so I didn't film all of that just because I don't want them to turn brown. So we're gonna go ahead and get our other ingredients added, get this cooked down for a little bit, and then we'll blend it up. I'm gonna go ahead and turn these on, and it says to bring to a boil. We'll just start heating our burner first. So we're gonna use a half a cup of fresh orange juice. One-third cup of water. 2 cups of sugar. Three tablespoons of fresh lemon juice. 2 tablespoons of orange zest. See, I don't really have a zester. I'm gonna use this. And I'm not measuring it. I'll just try to estimate 2 tablespoons. I don't know if I'm gonna have quite that much, but we'll just zest this whole orange probably. At least we have the orange juice in there for the orange flavor. I wanted to go ahead and get this recipe done too while I still had an orange and a lemon in the fridge. I used these for my fire cider, and I had some extra, and I want to make another batch of fire cider, so I'm kind of planning all of this stuff at the same time so that I can use up the zest for this recipe, but then go ahead and use the orange and the lemon in the fire cider, the next batch that I want to make. I usually like to have 2 batches going at one time, and I'm not going to film that. I have a whole video on fire cider, and I can link that above so that you guys can go check that out if you want. Okay. That's definitely not going to be 2 tablespoons worth, but that's okay. And then our lemon is 1.5 tablespoons, so same thing. I'm just going to zest this whole lemon. And then we're going to add 3/4 teaspoons of grated nutmeg. I don't have grated, I have ground. I'm not freshly grating nutmeg, but this will be great. This is what I was saying in one of my previous videos about not rushing through canning recipes because you will mess up. I already did, but hopefully it's salvageable. I was only supposed to bring the pears, orange zest, orange juice, water, lemon zest, and lemon juice to a boil, and then simmer that for 20 to 25 minutes until the pears are soft. Then place it in a food processor, and then bring the pear puree, sugar, and nutmeg to a boil in the same pan until the sugar dissolves. Reduce heat, simmer uncovered 20 minutes. So I basically just combined steps. I'm hoping that'll be okay. I'm just gonna bring it up to a slight boil and then just let it cook down for a while, and we'll blend it up and go from there. I don't want my sugar to burn or anything, and I don't think that it will because there's so much liquid in here. We'll see what happens. I don't think that's a crucial mess up. I hope not, because I don't want to do this again. So we're just gonna bring it to a slight boil, and then I'm just gonna leave it uncovered, simmer it for probably half an hour or so, and then continue to simmer it depending on how much more it needs to thicken up. So what we are gonna add to the jars is just Star-Anise. I don't know if you guys have ever used these. I've used these a couple of times. I really love them. And they're also just beautiful in jars and things. So cute. This one's a little oddly shapen, but they smell so good. They're a great spice to add to things. So I think that'll add a really delicious taste to this pear butter. So yeah, let's get this simmering for a little while, and then we'll blend it up and put it in our jars and get it canned up. While this is doing its thing, I'll probably go ahead and start heating my half-pint jars up. So 4 half-pint jars. I took 5 out. I usually do like 1 or 2 extra just in case. It'll probably only fill 4, but we'll put 5 in there and get those warmed. And then we'll be all ready to put these in the jars as soon as it's ready. I think this is a good consistency. It almost looks like applesauce. It's supposed to be pureed, and there's a little bit of texture to it. So I think we're gonna go with this. Just trying not to splash it everywhere, but I don't think that worked out very well. I tried my immersion blender first, but I didn't think it was going to get me to the consistency that I wanted. So I did end up putting it in the blender, food processor, whatever. And I think that this is actually a great texture. Let me bring you guys down to see. This actually looks really good. It almost looks like applesauce, the consistency. So we do want it to thicken. So I'm gonna just slightly bring it up to a boil again. And then we'll let it simmer again for another 20-25 minutes or so until it thickens. All right, guys, our pear butter has gotten pretty thick and it's starting to boil at this consistency, just with it being on simmer. So I am gonna go ahead and put it in our jars. I probably could have cooked the pears down a little bit longer before I blended them. I've tried it and it's actually really, really good. I really like it. There's a tiny bit of a crunch to it from the pears. But I do wonder as it cans if it'll get a little bit softer anyways. Let me show you guys. So you can see you want it to be able to sort of hold its shape on the spoon, and it very much does. It's quite thick. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and turn the heat off and just get it jarred up. It's looking good. I'm gonna add 1 Star-Anise to each jar. We'll do 5. I don't know how many it'll be, but we'll see. And we're gonna fill to a 1/4 inch headspace. I might keep it between like a 1/4 and a half. Yeah, I think the consistency on this is pretty perfect. We'll definitely go through and debubble because I feel like there will be quite a bit of air trapped in these with the thickness of it, and then we'll top off our headspace. This might be 5 jars. I'm gonna fill it and see. Yeah, and I think I still have a tiny bit that I can adjust the headspace if needed, so I'm just gonna go through and debubble it really well. Try to eliminate any air that's in the jar. And it is hot, so I just want to be careful with holding it. I think we really should have enough to top these off. That was perfect, 5 jars. And they're like perfectly filled as well. I'm really pleased with that. That is like every last bit of it. That's perfect. Okay. So a 1/4 inch headspace. We don't need much for these. They're very sticky, so I do need to clean them well. So just some white vinegar to clean our rims. Anything with fruit or any kind of syrups or honey mixtures, anything like that, will be especially sticky, so you just want to make sure you clean your jar rims really, really good so that you don't have any seal failures. I'm really happy that this made 5 jars. Like I said, I wasn't super thrilled about this project this morning when I started it. It's the whole peeling situation that just gets me. So I was already in a bad mood before I even started this. Like I said, I'm so grateful to have the pears. I don't mean to be complaining at all. But you know when you're just not in the mood for a project that you know needs to get done and you have to do it. That's kind of how I felt today. But thankfully, I feel like my pears actually do need some more time to ripen. I used the softest ones I could find for the most part for these. And they were still pretty firm. And firm is fine. Firm is probably easier to can with. But I do want them to ripen up a bit. So because I have work and several things going on in the next few days, I won't be able to get to the next pear project until Monday. So that's like 4 days away. So I think Monday we'll have another big canning day, and I'll have time to really fine tune the recipes I want to use before then. I think I want to just do some sliced pears. And I don't know, I might end up making another batch of this. Like I said, I had 29 pounds to start with of pears. I have had to throw a few out because unfortunately as I was cutting into them, a few of them were bad inside. I think just like from bug holes and stuff. So we'll see how much we actually end up with. But 29 pounds of freshly picked free pears from a friend's backyard is really amazing. So I am not complaining at all to have it, and I'm actually really glad that we got to this project today, even though I just wasn't feeling it. It's so nice and rewarding at the end to just have something homemade, freshly canned, and 5 jars will go a long way for this. So let's get our lids and our bands on. With all of that being said, I'm glad that today is just a one canning project kind of day. Because I do have somewhere to be this afternoon. It kind of limited my time today, which is fine. Because I just think those pears need some more time to ripen up anyway. So I stuck them back in the garage. They've been ripening for the last week since I picked them. And I think I'm gonna continue to let them ripen for a day or two out there. If I see that they're starting to get soft or too ripe, then I will put them in a paper bag, like a grocery bag, and put them in the fridge until I'm ready to deal with them. Look at these jars, stunning. You can see the Star-Anise in there. Absolutely beautiful. The picture makes it look a little more orange. I wonder if it depends on like the pears that you have, or if I just didn't cook it long enough since I messed up the recipe at first or something. But I don't mind either way. This is totally fine, and this looks pear colored, so I think it's exactly where it needs to be. All right, and we are gonna water bath candies for 10 minutes is what the recipe calls for, and then adjusting for altitude. So 25 minutes for me, and then we'll see our final result. I feel like it's actually really nice to do these small batch recipes and small batch canning days sometimes, and just do 1 or 2 recipes at a time, because you truly don't know if you're gonna like it until you can it and then try it. We can always test it before we put it in the jars, and I always taste test something before I put it in the jars if it's like a recipe that gets cooked first. But you truly don't know until you can it and try it. So also, because I'm low on jars, I wasn't going to double it today, but because I really didn't know how we were going to like this recipe, I know that the pear butter itself tastes good. I also know that the Star-Anise may change the flavor a little bit, but I really like Star-Anise, so I think it'll add a good flavor to it. I'm not sure if I'm going to crack into one of these jars right away or not. And then I already know that we're going to like this recipe just based on what the pear butter tasted like before we put it in the jars. So depending on the rest of the pears and what other recipes I want to do, I do know I have a couple of ingredients. I mean, it's like shelf-stable ingredients like apple juice and some other things that I got for, I think, the sliced peaches or another recipe that I found. So I do want to make sure that I use whatever ingredients I already have for the recipes, especially if there's anything fresh. That's why I wanted to do this one today, since I had the orange and the lemon fresh. I wanted to go ahead and use those so that I could plan to use those for the fire cider. So I just want to make sure that whatever ingredients I already have on hand, I do those first. So we'll see how these look when they come out of the canner, and probably not going to do any other recipes today. It's already after 11, and just because I have some other things I want to do. And it's supposed to be really nice outside today, so I do want to spend some time outdoors as well, checking on the garden. I probably need to do a really big pepper harvest. I have a lot of peppers out in the garden that I've been waiting for them to turn red or orange, just kind of change color a little bit instead of all green. And because our temperatures are starting to drop and it's going to be pretty chilly this weekend, I think we have a storm coming in, some rain, some snow up in the mountains even. I'm wondering if I should go ahead and just pick all of my peppers now. Unfortunately, I have a ton of tomatillos and I'm just waiting for them to ripen as well and to grow a little bit bigger, because I need to harvest those to make sauces and things with. So I'm hoping this little cold spell this weekend, I think the nighttime temperatures are only going to get down to like 40 degrees. We don't have any danger of frost or anything like that, so I think it'll be fine. But today or tomorrow, I might go ahead and harvest quite a bit of my peppers and then figure out what I want to do with those. I have my fermented hot sauce over here fermenting. In my last preservation video, you'll see that I started making some hot sauce, and I truly don't know how that's going to turn out. I kind of want to test it first before I make more. But also, that's a whole thing too. I've been finding recipes for, I've made hot sauces before, but I've canned them or just made them fresh. Fermentation hot sauce seems like a whole different ordeal. There's like a whole science behind it. So I want to try to fine tune it and get like the salt ratio and everything right. All right, our canner is done. Now I'm excited. This is the part I'm excited about, is getting everything at the canner. The prep work, not so much. And here we are. Look at that. You can't really see the Star-Anise. I see it kind of over here. a shadow of it. But that is stunning. So excited now. 5 jars of pear Star-Anise butter. And here we are. You can see this is, I guess, spice from either the Star-Anise or the nutmeg. Probably both. There's a Star-Anise down here. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. These are gonna be perfect. Perfect addition to winter coziness. They're already popping. I hear them popping, so that's really great. Hopefully they all seal. I really don't have lots of issues with seal failures. I did have one recently with a zucchini relish. I don't know why it didn't seal. Maybe there was something on the rim that I didn't get off. I'm not really sure. But I caught it in time to stick it in the fridge and it was no problem. So hopefully we don't have any of those issues and we can add these straight to the pantry. And yeah, I'll let you guys know. Stay tuned. I'm going to put all of the pear, did you hear that? I'm going to put all of the pear canning videos sort of into one long video, kind of like I did for the peach preservation, even though I did do all of that in one day, and I'm not doing all of these in one day. So I'll see you guys back when we do the next recipe. It'll probably be in a few days, but I'll bring you back for that, and stay tuned. Hey guys, it's day 2 of canning pears, and for this recipe, I'm going to do the ball canning salted caramel pear butter. So in here, I'm actually doubling this recipe. This is 8 pounds of chopped pears, peeled and coarsely chopped. So the original recipe is 4 pounds with a 1/3 cup of apple cider, just regular apple cider, and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. So since I doubled it, I have 2/3 cup of apple cider in here plus 4 tablespoons of lemon juice. So I have this on high. We're just gonna let this simmer covered for about 40 minutes or until the pears are softened. Okay, we've got our pear butter blended up, so I just pureed it in a blender, and then I added, for one recipe, like I said, I doubled it, so for one recipe it's 2 teaspoons of sea salt or kosher salt and 2.5 cups of dark brown sugar. So, like I said, doubling it, I added 5 cups of brown sugar and 4 teaspoons of sea salt. And I'm just gonna mix this in really good. It's definitely very thick because of the brown sugar. So I'm just gonna spend a few minutes to just kind of mix this in really well. And then we're gonna leave this on high. It says to turn the lid diagonally so steam can escape. You want this to get really thick and dark in color, and to just simmer it on high in the crock pot for 3 to 4 hours. So that's what we're gonna do. I'll bring you guys back when I start getting this canned up. Okay guys, I think we're about done. I've had our pear butter simmering in the crock pot for about 3.5 hours or so now. It could probably get a little bit thicker. Let me mix it in so you can actually see the consistency of it. I mean, it's like definitely butter consistency. Apple butter, pear butters, things like that. I think it could be a little bit thicker. I might end up giving it just another half hour, maybe an hour. It's just already after 5, so I'm trying to get it done so I don't have to wait for this to be in the canner all night. It's only going to take 30 minutes in the water bath canner anyway, so not very long. But I'm trying to do this as one batch and not 2. We'll see how many half pints it fills. So I'll probably just give it another little while to see if it'll thicken a little bit more, and then I'll bring you guys back for when we put it in the jars. Okay guys, I gave it another like 40 minutes or so. That did thicken up a little bit, and I think it'll just kind of thicken in the jar too. So it's already 6 o'clock. I'm ready to go ahead and start getting this canned up. So I'm gonna start filling our jars. I've already got our jars preheated. I did that while I was waiting for the butter to thicken. So we're gonna get these out. This recipe calls for 1/2 pint jars. You could obviously do pints if you wanted, but I do want to can this in 1/2 pint jars and just do the small size. It calls for 4 1/2 pint jars for one recipe, but remember I doubled it, so 8 1/2 pint jars. I always put more than what I think I need in the canner to warm up, so I put 10 jars in here, and that's the max amount that I can fit into my canner at a time, so I just went with the maximum. I don't know how many jars this is exactly gonna make, but if we have more than 8, that's great. I am trying to avoid doing a second batch, but we'll see how much is left. You could totally just freeze this pear butter if you wanted to. I want to can things because my freezers are just really full right now. I don't have any space for anything because I have 50 pounds of tomatoes in my freezers. So until I can get those things canned up, I literally have no room for anything. So I'm going to start with these 10 jars, and then if we have to make more, then we'll just make more and can a second batch up. The canning part doesn't take too long, 30 minutes, so that's not a problem, but I'm just ready to go ahead and fill these up because I have a big canning day tomorrow of the rest of the pears. I think I probably have about maybe 20 pounds of pears left, maybe a little less. So I'm gonna bring you guys back tomorrow because we're gonna do more pear canning tomorrow. So I just brought my crock pot insert over here. It actually has thickened up pretty nicely. I'm happy with the consistency of it. So let's just go ahead and start filling these. We're gonna leave, I think it's a 1/2 inch headspace, maybe a 1/4 inch. I'm gonna probably do a 1/2 inch. That's kind of the standard for most things, and that's kind of where I like for my stuff to sit in the jar. Especially things that are thick. I feel like thick things tend to siphon out a little bit easier, in my experience at least. This recipe already has lemon juice added to it, so I don't need to add any extra to the jar. And just before we get the lids and bands on these, I am going to check my recipe one more time, just to make sure I'm not missing anything, since this is a new recipe for me. I've never used this before. So this is the salted caramel pear butter recipe, and it's on the Ball Canning website, actually. It's not in my book, but it is on the website. So that's where I found it. I will link the book again for you guys to see, as well as the link to these recipes specifically, for you to find them easy. So you guys saw the first recipe that I canned up was the pear Star-Anise butter. I knew I was probably going to end up doing 2 different kinds of pear butters, and went with this one because I think this one is a little bit more of my flavor profile. It's actually not too sweet. It did have the brown sugar added, but it's not too sweet. It kind of could be like used as like a savory butter too. And the pear Star-Anise butter is a little bit sweeter, but it just has an extra little kick with the Star-Anise in it. And this one is a little more basic. I like the Star-Anise butter, but I didn't feel like I wanted to make a second batch of that. So let's see. I feel like we could probably do 9 jars and still have a little bit left to adjust the headspace of these if necessary, and add a little extra to each jar, which we might do. I wonder if I could fill another one. I feel like maybe I could. The headspace for these actually isn't too off. I will go in and debubble, especially with this being a really thick recipe, but I'm just gonna see how much this fills exactly. It's not gonna be quite 10 jars, but close. Before I go any farther, I'll just go ahead and debubble. These are really thick. We want to make sure there's not a bunch of air trapped in it. I did have one of my pear Star-Anise butter lid's not seal. I don't know what happened with it, if it was just a faulty lid or if I didn't clean it well enough or something, the top, but it definitely like didn't seem to be sealing at first, but then it kind of sealed a few hours later, but then when I checked it later even, the seal was loose again. So I just ended up putting that one in the fridge. So I do have a Pear Star-Anise butter in the fridge, and then 4 that I added to the pantry. They're actually still sitting on my counter, but that I'm gonna add to the pantry. I'm hoping that all of these seal because I do have that one in the fridge, but if not, I might just toss it in the freezer or something so that we can eat it later. Let's see. This one looks a little low. This one, just top them off a little bit. I was hoping to still have enough to fill that very last jar, and I might try to squeeze every bit that I can in there. See if we can scrape this. I might be able to squeeze it in there. I think it might actually be okay. That was basically perfect. I could probably take a little scoop out of 1 or 2 of these. I'm gonna just debubble this one and kind of go through these few that I adjusted. I know the lighting is a little bit weird because it's evening, but look at how perfect these are. It looks very similar to like an apple butter or something like that. Those are so delicious looking. All right, our water bath canner is done. It's just doing the cool down phase, so I'm gonna get ready to get these out. All right, we've got 10 gorgeous jars of salted caramel pear butter. Really excited about these. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, guys, it's day 3 on canning pears. I weighed the rest of them this morning. I have them in these 2 bags here, the remaining amount. I thought I had a little bit more, but I have about a little over 10 pounds left. I think I'm just gonna can all of the rest of these into cinnamon spiced pears. That is also a recipe from the Vol Canning website. If we have some extra, or if I just don't wanna make too many jars, these are still good. I might keep a few as like fresh eating. Because these all in this bag, they all look gorgeous. They're the perfect size and all really green. This bag has a few yellow ones and some smaller ones, but yeah, I think we're gonna get started with that. It's a little bit of an earlier start today. It's 9 a.m. So this one we're going to use apple juice as our liquid for the jars. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just get all of these pears peeled, and we're just gonna half them. All right, I have some apple juice heating. This is what we're gonna fill our jars with, and then some water. I'm gonna bring that to a soft boil as well. And then we're gonna cook our pears just one layer at a time once I cut them up in that water, and then pack the jars with the apple juice. I also have my cinnamon sticks here that we're gonna put in each jar. And look how gorgeous our salted caramel butter turned out from yesterday. I have 10 of these jars. These are all so gorgeous. It does seem like it's a little thicker in the jars, which is what I was hoping for. So I got our pears all peeled and rinsed. Our jars are done warming, so that's great. They'll be ready when we're ready. And I don't want this water to boil too much. It just says to cook the pears in hot water first, so I just have them peeled. We're gonna try to half them as best as possible and core them out. Some of these pears are much smaller than others, so I don't know the best way to get the center out. I think just with a spoon will be fine. And as we core them, I'm just gonna make sure the ends are good, the peels are off, and they look nice and clean. I know you guys are gonna give me all the best tips and tricks after this video of how to core my pears, but then it's gonna be too late. But I'll remember it for next time, so please leave the tips and suggestions below. I did save like 5, I think, really nice green ones, and we'll just eat those fresh. Unless I need them to finish filling a jar, then I'll use them, but otherwise I'll just stick them back in the fridge, and we'll just eat those in the next few days. They're still really good and ripe and not getting too soft. So these have lasted a while. I think it was 2 or 3, maybe 3 weeks ago now that I picked these. And it took a good long 10 or so days for them to ripen. So they haven't gotten soft too fast or anything, which is really great. I didn't have the time to deal with them initially, so I was hoping that they wouldn't soften up too quick. And then once they started softening some, I just stuck them in the fridge for another 4 or 5 days until I had time to deal with them. And that ended up working out perfect, other than they filled my fridge up and I didn't have room for anything else. But now that's not a problem anymore because we are taking care of these pears today. I'm really excited to have them all finished. It's not been that bad. The worst part is peeling them. I just do not enjoy peeling things. I got that KitchenAid, like I said, I think the first day. The little spiralizer and corer and peeler attachment for the KitchenAid mixer. And I thought that was gonna be the solution. It was gonna be great and I would not have to worry about this. But my pears are too small to fit on it, so it doesn't actually peel them. I might could use it right now to just like core them, but I don't think I'm going to. I want to make sure there's no bad spots since this stuff is getting canned. We want to have the highest quality product possible in our jars. So if there's any bad spots, we'll cut those out. I've realized over the last couple of days I've had, I don't know what you guys do when you're canning or what you're thinking about, but I feel like it's actually a very therapeutic time. I think about all sorts of things when I'm prepping stuff and canning and just have the time to sort of slow down and really just think about things. I find that I think about a lot of people that I haven't thought about in a while, which is kind of interesting. And then sometimes I'm listening to music or have like an ambiance on the TV or something, but especially when the house is super quiet, I feel like my mind is just all over the place thinking about all sorts of things. So I think it's very intentional time to sort of slow down and just not really worry about doing anything, or my thoughts that I have are not thinking about what I need to do next or a busy week that I have coming up or anything like that. It truly is just like really random thoughts. So what do you guys think about when you're canning? Do you think about anything? Does it slow you down, or do you still feel like you have a million thoughts racing through your mind? It's kind of nice. Like I said, I feel like it's sort of therapeutic to just sort of slow down not really worry about things for a second. I kind of want to do this quickly so that once I take my jars out, they don't have time to cool down. They're still warm by the time I put them back in the canner, but it's taken me a minute to get these cored out. I think I'll just leave them in there for a second. Once I feel like I get enough to go ahead and cook like a layer at a time of the pears, I'll go ahead and start with that and start packing the jars, but try to get most of these cored up. They're already starting to turn brown a little bit. I don't think it's a huge problem because they're gonna be brown in the jars anyways because they're cinnamon pears with the apple juice and the cinnamon sticks, so I'm not super worried about it, but I do want to hurry up and get it done. So I'm so stoked for this to be the last pear recipe. It's not been that bad. Like I said, just the peeling has been the worst part, but I was not looking forward to dealing with these. Same with the peaches. I think it's just anything that I know I have to peel. I never look forward to canning those things, but it's actually not been too bad at all. The recipe yesterday was pretty easy because I could just chop them up and, well, peel them and chop them and then throw it in the crock pot. And it sort of just did its thing all day. So that one was a little more low maintenance, but I really wanted to get these done today because I have some other projects that I want to get started on. I'm not truly sure what yet. I just know that I still have a lot of stuff from the garden that needs to be preserved. And I still have not quite 50 because I did use some of the tomatoes, but the 50 pounds of tomatoes that I got, the Romas, I still have the majority of those in my freezers, and they are taking up so much room in the freezer. So I do want to try to get to tomatoes. I'm not sure when, and I'm not sure what recipes I'm gonna do just yet. I do know that I want to make pizza sauce again. I make pizza sauce every year. That's the reason for getting the tomatoes, basically, is to make pizza sauce because we use that for my sourdough pizzas. And then my husband really likes the recipe I made the first year, but I did a double batch, so I've had enough and didn't have to do it last year. It's from the Ball Canning book. It's curried tomato preserves, I think is what it's called. And he really likes those. They're kind of like a sweet tomato preserve. Kind of interesting flavor, but not bad. And he likes to get this chicken dish from Trader Joe's, and he puts it on that. So I'm probably gonna can up more of those. I think I have 5 or 6 jars left. I had a bunch. So I'll probably end up making more of that. And then I think I'm gonna do some kind of like marinara or pasta sauce or something. I did do the bruschetta. You guys will see that coming out. Actually, you've probably already seen that. That was in the last video, I want to say, depending on when I get them all uploaded. So that's the thing. My YouTube uploads have been slacking a little bit because I've been doing all the preserving and filming it all. I just don't have time to get it edited for you guys. So I'm working on that and trying to work on that this weekend as well. So that video with the bruschetta, I want to get done this weekend so that you guys can see it soon. And then I had a salsa recipe in that video too, and my fermented hot sauce, which I'll have to give you guys an update on at some point. This one is kind of bad inside. I'm just going to trash it. I think that the hot sauce is going okay. It does have like a white film, and I think it's calm yeast after doing some research. I don't think it's mold. It doesn't look like mold that I can tell. So I'm probably gonna, it's been going for maybe 10 days or so. I'm probably gonna strain that soon just because I'm not so sure about it. I wasn't sure to begin with. You guys will see in the video. I was like, I don't know how this is gonna turn out. I've never fermented any hot sauce before. I've made hot sauce, but it's like canning recipes. So I'm gonna go ahead and toss these in and just cook them. It says a layer at a time. I need to do a big deep clean of my kitchen after this because I feel like I've gotten pear juice everywhere. Let's just start with those first. I think what I'm gonna do is just take out 1 or 2 jars at a time and leave the rest in here to stay warm. And go ahead and start packing these and see how it goes. I have 8, I'm using regular mouth pint jars, and I have 8 jars in here. I put the maximum amount that my canner can hold. To just see how many it's gonna fill. I have no idea. The recipe says 3 to 5 medium per pint jar, 3 to 5 medium pears, or 1 to 1.5 pounds. I had about 10 pounds, give or take, so it could be maybe 10 jars or so. I don't know. I'm not really expecting it to fill more than 8, but we'll see what happens. So I'm just gonna let those cook for a second, finish halving some others, and then we'll fill some of these jars. Okay, it says to just cook the pears until they're heated throughout. So I think that they are heated throughout. I am going to, that's not the spoon I wanted to use. I'm gonna use a slotted spoon to just drain them and just sort of pack them in here. I'm gonna put a few in, and then halfway through, toss in a cinnamon stick and then add some more. And I want them to be packed pretty full, so I have this new cabbage tamper that I got with my fermentation kit. I should be using that more to pack things into my jars because it seems like a really awesome creation and like it would serve me well. So I think I can pack a couple more in each one, maybe 1 or 2. Maybe just a small one in here. Okay. I might be able to put another small one in there. You always want to pack your jars as tight as possible, basically. It says, I think it said a 1/2 inch headspace on the recipe, a 1/2 or a 1/4, you know, it's usually one of those two anyways. So we're gonna fill them up. I also kind of want them to fit in all 8 jars too, but we'll see what happens with that. Okay, those are pretty full. So I have our apple juice here. All we're gonna do is just cover it with apple juice. The problem potentially that we might run into is that I only had 1 bottle of apple juice, and I don't know how far that's gonna go. I didn't think about that when I got the apple juice, how many pears I might potentially have, so we will see how far this bottle goes. I probably could have calculated and estimated, but it's already here in the pot now. We're already doing the thing, so we're just gonna keep doing the thing. Okay. These are obviously gonna be sticky with the apple juice, so it's gonna be hard to go in and debubble, but I'm just gonna kind of pack them down farther and see if some of my bubbles will come out that way. That one is full enough. This one I could probably toss another one in. Just a small one, yeah. Perfect. I'm just gonna let these sit for a second, try to finish up with my other pears and get the rest of these filled. some of the recipes that I saw online or some of the blogs or whatever I was reading, they had put them over ice cream and it looked delicious. I'm not really a big ice cream person, but it looked so good. So we might try that. I think it would just be nice to have something like this sort of fresh in the winter months. I'm gonna take a little bit of this juice out of this one. I can't wait to do a big like canning pantry tour with you guys after everything that I've canned this year. I still have a lot to go and it is nearly the end of September. I'm kind of hoping to be done with everything by mid-October or so, including the tomatoes, but we'll see if I get around to the tomatoes. They're not a huge rush since they're in the freezer. They'll be fine in there for a while. But I would at least definitely like to get all the garden stuff put away and canned up or frozen or whatever I'm gonna do with it. And then work on the tomatoes kind of here and there. Okay. And then we just want it to be an inch above the jars. I'm gonna add just a little bit more hot water. So for water bath canning, an inch above the jars, that's probably good. And we're gonna get the lid on. And we're gonna process these for 40 minutes. Whew. All right, our pears are done. I've just been outside in the garden. It is like 1,000,000 degrees outside. I'm so surprised it's so hot to be the end of September here in Colorado, but it's really warm. Look at these. Stunning. Try not to get water everywhere. So excited about these. I'm always excited about everything that I pull out the canner. It's always just so worth the work and effort it takes to prepare everything. And these pears were free, so even better. I didn't have to pay for them. I did have to buy some new jars, but otherwise free, which is amazing. They smell delicious. I smell the cinnamon stick for sure. All right. 8 gorgeous jars. Look at these. They smell so good. It's always crazy how you can smell the things that are coming out the canner. So 29 pounds of pears later, here is all of what we canned. We have the 4 jars of the pear Star-Anise butter, the 10 jars of the salted caramel pear butter. You can see the color difference between those two. And then our 8 pint jars of cinnamon pears. So I'm so excited about all of this. This is a lot of pears. This will feed us for a while throughout the winter. It'll be nice to have these pear butters on some fresh sourdough too. Thank you guys so much for sticking around for all of this pear canning. Probably not my favorite thing to can, but I am so pleased with the progress and everything that we got out of these pears. And like I said, they were free, freshly picked from a friend's house. So excited about that. Didn't have to pay for anything except for maybe a few jars here and there. But they all smell so good. I'm so excited for the variety. 2 pear butters and then the cinnamon pears. And I think this will be a really great addition to add to the pantry for the winter season. So again, thank you guys so much. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And I'll bring you back for the next preservation video. See you soon. Bye.